Welcome back, my fellow Flesh and Blood players. This is going to be the upgrade builds for Kassai of the Golden Sand. In case you missed my video a few weeks ago, we did a budget build that was a straight up $20, very cheap. If you ended up putting that together, that's awesome. You probably have a good chunk of this build already. There'll just be a few cards that you might need here and there. And you will see that when I go through these little builds here. I will have all the links down in the descriptions, but this will show you the cards that you have pulled out to put in, and that's mostly just because in case you feel like you should take something else out and you want to put this in that better fits your play style, that's completely fine. That's how you can kind of mess around with it a little bit. But everything I did add to this is going to be about around $60, and that's pretty much your basic armory deck. So if you felt like the other one was a little too cheap, or if you're a little bit more experienced, or you want to just kind of put a little bit more money front forward with it, this is going to be a great build for that. Alright, so we're going to show a match with this Kassai build. Our first matchup is going to be against a new. So with playing new, you have to be really careful with attack reactions. That's what assassins like to use. And New's ability also allows her to play your blues. Of course, she has to pitch a chi, but she'll be able to play all your blue cards for the turn. So that's why we were taking out the Blade Runner. The hit and runs shouldn't be too bad, considering they would have to swing the dagger twice, and theirs costs 2 to swing with. And then of course we're going to add in all our defense reactions to be able to respond to her attack reactions. Okay, so we're going first in this matchup. We kind of had a hand that we need to just kind of play out and see if we get any damage through. The bad part with that is that now New has the ability to filter her hand and start adding a better attack to attack reaction ratio. It's just kind of the hand that we're dealt sometimes, and that's what we gotta do. This hand isn't too bad. We do have a Steel Blade Shunt, just in case there's an attack reaction we need to cover. But that's something that we are going to want to try and keep and possibly put into the arsenal. And Sharpened Senses isn't a huge waste, so I'm not too worried about covering the blocks for it. So we had to give ourselves the go again, and we really want to make sure we get about 5 copper before we go off with our blood in our hands. I also found it very interesting that this new isn't using Mask of Nightmare. I don't know the reason towards that, but that helps us out a lot. And now of course we're seeing Bonds of Agony. This is where your red alert gloves will come in really clutch, because pretty much they have to do 3 attack reactions, so it is going to help and block for 2. So you can math it out that way when it comes to this particular attack. So what's really nice is they're probably going to try and pop off here, and we have that Steel Blade Shunt sitting in an arsenal to cover at least 6 of this, and if we have the math correctly, we should be able to block this out regardless. Yeah, so a little less than I expected, but that's fine. Rather just try and cover that attack, because we had too many cards in our hand that we actually want to keep. I also found it interesting that they're playing Spider's Bite, considering we don't really use many attack action cards. So I don't know if they made a mistake on that one or not. And of course, we weren't too worried about blocking out Leave No Witness because we don't have anything in Arsenal for them to banish. And if they end up making a silver, it is what it is. So we decided to crack the gold. It's a bit risky, but we'll see if it pays off for us or not. Alright, so it did. That's great. That means there's a hand they want to keep, so I'm very curious what it is. So with that, it does kind of make me think that they have just a Nick. We're going to kind of check that. So there are 2 in the graveyard, so the odds are somewhat there. But with them keeping 4 cards, there is a possibility that they got 2 plus 3 attack reactions. That didn't seem to be the case. So we get a Blood Rat Pox. Yeah, it was really nice because we could definitely have used that gold for this turn, so I'm glad we had it. So with New having a 2-card hand, I don't think there's a whole lot she's going to be able to do here, which is somewhat nice because we can get rid of that Sink Below. Taking on the chin is going to be really great if we can pull it off. Well, at least we have Spoils of War, so I wasn't too worried about throwing the taking on the chin for the dagger swing. And why not? Let's outland Skirmish so we can threaten an extra copper. And so with that, I think swinging with the Saber first made more sense because New has so many attack action cards. So I was trying to push more cards out of hand if New wanted to block that out. Apparently, New really likes this hand. Another Bonds of Agony. So with them keeping the hand, I'm assuming they have 3 attack reactions. But again, we've already seen 2 just the Nick, so they might have 1. There can still be a Hiss in play as well. So that could be 2 of them. So I was thinking there was going to be 9. It ended up being a little bit more. So I'm glad that I at least blocked with cards that I want to keep. I wasn't too worried about losing the end of swing or the sharpened sentences. The CNC didn't matter a whole lot there because it's normally a bigger deal when you have an arsenal being threatened. Double Trouble just banishes more cards. I'm not really worried about that. So you'll normally want to take that damage unless it's something that's going to disrupt your way of play. You just kind of take that damage when it comes there. So this is something nice that Hood of the Red Sands can do, is once you pop that off, your next sword actually swings for free. Yeah, surgical extraction's a real bugger. And yeah, I was worried about the hiss there, which they ended up using, so we were correct on that. Alright, figured we'd, since we're at 7 life, we might as well start throwing as much gold on hits as we can. That's a good chunk of damage. I'm pretty sure there's still just a nick in play. So we're gonna make sure they don't have that. Well, this is where we have taken on the chin. That name is so right. Alright, so at this point, we kind of need to worry about damage in general, so if there's some way we can cover a good chunk of it and still be able to do our play, that's all that matters. And we pulled the best card we could have gotten right there. So this is part of Kassai's comboing off piece, and you're going to see we're able to swing with our swords 4 times, which is great. At this time of the game, we're going to strip a good chunk of New's hand. Alright, and as you see, we pulled off the win. It's a great deck to start out with. As you can see, we threatened about 64 damage, and we prevented 5. So we're going to go over to another upgrade that you might be interested in if you started liking how this one feels. This will be a $200 build. I would say this is more for somebody who's already into the warrior class and hasn't built Kassai yet. And this is a good way to kind of start without having to spend all the money for maybe some pieces you happen to not need. Or for someone that's just willing to put in more money into like a beginning build for it as well, as they might already know that they are going to be into the warrior class. So as you can see, we did put some better cards in for this. Like I said before, links will be down in the description, and we're going to see what our matchup is going to be for this deck. So our matchup is going to be against Reinar. So with him, his ability has a lot of Intimidate, which makes you have your card face down in Banish and you get back at the end of your turn. He can also swing for some big attacks. I'm not sure if we want to bring in defense reactions. I don't think we should, just because of him intimidating our hand, and if he intimidates those cards, It's going to be kind of a feel bad situation. So you can see we had a pretty decent hand there. The reason why I used the red one is because we're going to try and get 2 reds and 2 yellows in that graveyard to activate Kassai, and just to force Reinhardt to block with cards that he doesn't necessarily want to block with. So he did kind of intimidate a card that we didn't want him to, but we can still use it. It's just probably one of the least viable options. Yeah, there's no sense in keeping the Ryzen army. Because if we park an arsenal at this point, it's going to sit there for a long time. We might not possibly use it at all. So it made sense to pitch into it and just keep a card that can activate Go Again next turn in case we get a clunky hand. And of course, we did end up making the gold, but I didn't think it was worth the risk keeping the Ryzen army. So we'll see. The blood on our hands is... I was kind of seeing if we could push the copper, considering we got the gold last turn. I don't know if it was the best move to arsenal that. I probably... Well, I would have ended up activating bracers, but then again, then I would get the copper. Yeah, maybe not the best thing that I did, but it is kind of nice to park that in arsenal for whenever your copper stuff does hit. You're pretty much ready for that comboing off turn. The only risk is that you're pretty much getting rid of your arsenal for however many turns it might take. So as you can see, I just kind of burned it because I didn't want to waste my arsenal. Because we're going to keep the blade runner so we can have some active Go Again in case we don't have a hand for it next turn. Yeah, we end up getting 2 blade runners and it spoils. Yeah, so there's no on hit effects, but I'd rather have me at 25. I just didn't think it was worth popping the gold yet, considering the cards that I have in hand. So that's kind of the bummer with Reinar with the flesh bag, because he just intimidated a card that I would have liked pitching. Yeah, so I had to kind of break my chess piece to be able to swing with the sword, which kind of sucked, but I am happy to get the copper that we wanted. And we also have a Rise of the Army, or Raise an Army. So, Blood Rush turns are normally pretty scary, but he didn't have too many cards to use, even though he still smacked me for a good chunk of damage, but we kind of needed to keep our hand. So we're going to pop 2 of our Centauri's Cell Swords. We definitely have the resource to do pretty much all of the attacks. Yep, and then pretty much since we're at 9 life, doesn't hurt to activate Hood of the Red Sands. We're just seeing if maybe we could have drew a blue, would have been nice, but we'll take the Outland Skirmish for sure. We're just going to try and push as much damage as we can. And see if we can activate a free swing for next turn if we make it. Apparently he really likes the hand that he has. And it's another Blood Rush. That's rough. Yeah, I think it just is best to wait until he can try to kill me. We are taking a risk here. If he has a reckless swing, we're kind of done for. And that's a situation you can tend to be in when you're playing against either Reinar or KO. In case you're unfamiliar with it, Reckless Swing is a defense reaction that brutes can use that deals 2 damage to the opposing hero, so we are technically in a lethal standpoint. So kind of took a risk there. We couldn't really pump it much more than we would have liked, so we're kind of hoping to activate the bolters. And he tried to destroy me, and he wasn't able to. Would have been nice to use the swordsman, but I kind of want to hold on to this blade runner for next turn. Oh, and there's the card I was talking about. Yeah, so unfortunately, that's the kind of stuff that can happen. And this kind of shows you some good advice to not try to be at 2 life when you're up against a brute player. But we still had a pretty good game there. I think we cut it close. It just kind of came down to that. After this, we're going to show pretty much the best build that I have made for Kassai so far. This is pretty much where I'm at with Kassai at the moment. We're still sticking with some more blues that I kind of started out with. We have a total of 9. And we're still kind of even with our reds and yellows. Mostly because we want to be consistent with consistent with Kassai's ability. As you can see, we absolutely put in Valiant Dynamos. If you are interested in playing the warrior class, that's pretty much a staple leg piece for them now. And brace forward bracers are also something that most warriors like to have. Even if you don't use its ability a whole lot, you're still having a 2-block battle worn, which is really nice. I still kept the courage even though it's a 2 temper. It can help automatically do blood on our hands just in case we don't have the gold for it. But we also have a spring tunic in case we end up putting in our defense reactions, which would be like the steel blade shunt. It's the same thing if we end up having to run some AB, and we'll be putting in the Oasis respites for that. As you can see, the price of it, I mean, yeah, it's expensive, but if you compare it to some of the other really big decks out there right now, it's actually more on the cheaper end. As much as some people want to laugh about that, but you know, it is a competitive card game, and this is kind of how the prices are right now. And if you didn't see it here, your more expensive pieces are going to be your equipment, which is stuff you can use for other warriors. So if you are interested in the warrior class, at least you know you're going to have some staple equipment for any other warriors moving forward. Unfortunately, I did have a good match with this deck, and my screen recording, like, I don't know what happened to the file, but it wouldn't play it for me at all, unfortunately. We are going to kind of go up against the top of the meta right now, which is Aurora. So it's going to be a rough one, but we can try and just see how we do. The only reason I decided to do Tunic was because of us using the Oasis plus the shunts, even though I think it's going to be a faster paced game. So I was kind of debating which chess piece I wanted to bring in. Now, I already know this is going to be a very grindy matchup as far as me trying to block a lot. So, kind of ridiculous that he had 3 sigils of suffering. So pretty much I just don't want him to be able to park a card in Arsenal with CLV. As you can see, we're going to try and block with dynamos as much as possible, and it can definitely help with a lot of her break points as well, at least for one of the turns. Yep, that's right. I don't have any arsenal, so it's fine. That's ridiculous that you can somersault a CNC back in hand. There's a reason why she's a really good deck right now. Because yeah, somersaults can take an action card that costs from 0 to 2. So I figure it's smart to make a cell sword, hopefully to go a bit wider. And I don't know why I didn't use the glint. Probably should have. I was just kind of double checking my grave just to see what card we have to use to try and activate Kassai a little quicker. Yeah. Just taking a lot of damage, it's rough. That was the only reason why I decided to show this matchup, just because of course wasn't able to show the one I actually did well in, and that was against a new. So Kassai can actually do pretty well against her. The issue with Aurora is just goes very wide. It's just a lot of 0 for 4s. That's just really hard to deal with as a warrior. So luckily we got our dynamos back. We can cover this breakpoint. And yeah, Starfall took out our sellsword. Kind of a bummer because I kind of had the pitch for it. So instead we figured we'd do this. Yeah, so right now I think we're just hoping to get very lucky with a lot. I wasn't sure if I wanted to use Oasis or Shunt, but I figure I'd rather just use the Shunt to cover up all the damage. Yep, and then we're just gonna keep smacking that Kassai ability because Aurora doesn't want to block, so I'm hoping I can keep consistently getting these free sword swings. So the good news is we kind of came back, but Aurora does like using a card called Scar for Scar, which will make Aurora more willing to get down below life to be able to get natural go again off of it. But surprisingly, that's not what we're seeing here. Well, we have two taken on the chins, and we got an Oasis Respite, an Arsenal. So, I think this is one of those cut your losses and just turn it into a blocking hand. Wonderful. I like that Oasis Respite can prevent the damage off Arc Lightning because it's getting the most value out of it to me. Considering that they decided to crack the grasp. So yeah, we're just going to park that taken on the chin and Arsenal. Unfortunately, we have a heavy blue hand. The good part is we could use Provoke, but I'm pretty sure Aurora's going to have something planned to force me to block. Yeah, Skizik for 7's pretty good. I kind of wanted to try and keep this Provoke to strip a card out of her hand. So now Aurora gets a 3-card hand, so we might be able to survive this. Yeah. So when you see this, I always find it kind of trappy because they're going to play something to give it go again, obviously, as you can see. Yep, because they didn't get CLB active, they decided to try and keep it around for next turn. We could see if we push enough damage here. Yeah, I don't know if Dominate was the best choice there. So we're seeing a Heaven's Claw, so that means I think they kind of have a heavier blue hand. Take on the Chin is perfect for Starfall. So we do survive for another round. Unfortunately, we don't have anything to pump our swords. But at least now we cracked a gold that if we survive here, we do have her at 8. Yep, I think it's time to crack the tunic because I feel like if they don't kill me this turn, I'm gonna have to kill them after. Yeah. Definitely can't get rid of the hit and run. But after I thought about it, I really don't have a way to pitch into both swords. They just kind of killed me. They definitely a very interesting Aurora build, but this was the result of it. It's not that it's a bad deck, but of course, Kassai isn't a huge hero in the meta, so she has some room to play around with. More blues can definitely be in consideration, even though you kind of would like to be able to consistently use her ability. But I hope you enjoyed. All the links will be down below, and I will see you all next week. Take care.